What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content here on my channel, then make sure you hit the like button and make sure you hit subscribe so you can help decide what direction the content on my channel goes in the foreseeable future. Why, hello there, Rob Core. Welcome back. Welcome to the 422nd Quidditch World Cup. Actually, welcome back to another installment of How to Kill Superheroes, and this video should satisfy even the most bloodthirsty members of the Rob Corps, because I know there are those of you out there who just love killing stuff.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
And the reason why is because of the fact that in this video, we're killing not just one, but 5 superheroes. That's right, 5. With Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 hitting theaters this week, I wanted to bring you as much Guardian-related content as I could. And as I thought about which member of the Guardians to kill for our weekly murder session, it occurred to me, why choose one when we can take out the entire team? So for the first time in the history of this video series, we're going to tackle an entire team of superheroes. Now, since we always begin with a rundown of each of the various characters and their powers, we're going to do that with each of the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and after that, we'll move on to our discussion on how to take them out. Now, with that said, let's start our whole video with the leader of the team, Star-Lord. Now, Star-Lord, also known as Peter Quill, is simply the son of Jason of Spartax and an Earthling woman named Meredith Quill, who, as we know from the Guardians movie, goes on to become a space pirate before eventually forming the modern incarnation of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Interestingly enough, despite being the leader of the Guardians, Star-Lord does not have any superhuman powers or abilities, although he is an expert in hand-to-hand combat and is proficient with a number of different weapons, as well as being a master tactician. Now, Star-Lord is also made even more formidable by the technology and weaponry at his disposal, most notably his power suit and his element gun. His power suit greatly bolsters his strength as well as his durability and allows him to travel through space without any sort of spacecraft and withstand energy blasts that would otherwise prove to be fatal. His element gun is his primary offensive weapon and is unique in that it allows him to shoot streams of any element he chooses, including fire, water, wind, Earth, lightning, and Captain Planet. So, despite his lack of powers, Star-Lord will actually present us with a bit of a challenge due to his advanced armor and versatile weaponry. Next, we turn our attention to Gamora. Now, Gamora was the last surviving member of her species, known as the Zenwoberis, who had been wiped out by the Badoon. Now, soon after, she was found and adopted by Thanos, who was intent on molding her into a weapon that he could use to assassinate the Magus, the evil persona of Adam Warlock. Now, due to Gamora's upbringing by Thanos, while it was harsh, she eventually becomes a very skilled fighter and assassin as a result of it, as Thanos administered treatments that enhance Gamora's strength, durability, speed, and agility through cybernetic technology, and also trained her in martial arts from a variety of planets, and it's been said that she has become an expert of an oddly specific 83.4% of known fighting techniques. Now, eventually, Gamora would turn on Thanos and join the team known as the Infinity Watch under Adam Warlock, and later, Peter Quill's Guardians of the Galaxy team. In addition to her martial arts training, Gamora is also skilled with several different weapons, most notably a blade known as the God Slayer, which is constructed of an unknown but unbreakable substance and is powerful enough to kill the Magus and pierce the skin of Thanos. Now, if all that wasn't enough, Gamora also possesses a healing factor, which should come as no surprise to us because it seems like the majority of people that we encounter and intend to kill all have healing factors of some sort. Moving along, we come to Drax the Destroyer, who is basically the literal embodiment of the internet. Now, something a lot of people don't realize about Drax is that despite his appearance, he is not a member of any sort of alien race and is in fact a human named Arthur Douglas. After he and his family were murdered by Thanos, Arthur's spirit was taken by one of the Eternals known as Kronos and placed in a new, vastly more powerful body for the sole purpose of tracking down and killing Thanos. Now, much like Gamora, Drax would go on to join the Infinity Watch before eventually joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. In terms of powers and abilities, Drax has superhuman strength, stamina, and durability, and has also shown an ability to penetrate force fields created by Thanos himself. It's important to note for anyone that may have been familiar with the character of Drax in some of his past incarnations and wondering about some of his powers that he had back then, that Drax actually died in the years prior to 2006's Annihilation event, when we see him alive again without any real explanation. But what is clear is that Drax is smaller and less powerful than he had been prior to this resurrection. Not only was he bigger, stronger, and more durable in his previous incarnation, but he also had the power of flight, the ability to project energy beams from his hands, and could sustain himself without breathing, drinking, or eating. However, the current version of Drax does not appear to have these abilities. Next, we come to Rocket Raccoon, who's basically just a walking, talking space raccoon. What I mean is that we do not know the name of Rocket's species, but we do know that he comes from a planet called Half-World and takes offense at being called a raccoon. But the truth is, his powers and abilities are basically that of an ordinary Earth raccoon. Speed and agility, a heightened sense of smell, claws to help him scurry up walls and trees, and the ability to take food from a dog bowl and run on his hind legs. In addition to his raccoon-based repertoire, however, Rocket is also a skilled pilot, proficient marksman, and a leader with tactical expertise that allows him to lead the team when Star-Lord is absent. Now finally, we have Groot. Groot is a member of the Flora Colossi, race of aliens from Planet X, which are basically anthropomorphic trees that can only utter sounds that sound like the phrase "I am Groot" due to the stiffness of their vocal cords. However, those individuals who spend enough time with Flora Colossi, specifically those individuals who spend enough time with Groot, will actually learn to understand that he's making a series of complex statements whenever he says "I am Groot," which is the reason why only Rocket Raccoon knows what it is that he's saying in the movies. But despite this limited vocabulary, Groot actually has a pretty diverse set of powers. In addition to your standard superhero strength, Groot is able to manipulate his size in order to grow to giant size in a matter of moments. He's also able to control plant life, has a genius-level intellect, and can even create miniature clones of himself. But these are not even the biggest obstacles to killing Groot. First, we have to account for his insane durability, which you wouldn't think would be a huge concern since he's a tree and all, but in Groot's case, the wood that he's made up of is so dense that he can sustain gunfire and even fire itself without major injury. Furthermore, Groot also has the ability to regrow himself from even the tiniest sprig of his body. However, how long it takes for him to grow is directly proportional to how small of a sprig is left. So even if we manage to kill Groot, we run the risk of him coming back. And so now that we've looked at all the Guardian members and their powers and so on and so forth and the things that make them who they are, we can finally get down to the real reason for why we're here: figuring out how to kill them. So just like we did before, we're going to run over each of these characters individually. But since we're trying to simulate an actual battle here, we're going to employ a little bit of strategy and try to find a way to take out the easiest prey first and save the biggest threats for last. Now, keeping strategy in mind, our first target is going to be Rocket Raccoon. I'm sorry, Bradley Cooper, but you gotta go. Sure, he's a raccoon with a lot of wit, a lot of tactical expertise, and a lot of skill with weapons, but he's still a raccoon, meaning that he can be killed in any way a raccoon can be killed. And really, that's pretty easy for anyone with a gun and decent aim to do. I mean, sure, he may get a few shots at us. He may even be able to evade us for a while, but at the end of the day, a well-placed shot from pretty much any weapon is going to be sufficient to take out Rocket. So that was pretty easy, but as I said, they're only going to get harder as we go on. Now moving to Star-Lord, not only is he the next easiest to kill, but if we take both him and Rocket out, the rest of the team will be left without a leader and ideally in a state of disarray, theoretically making our task easier. So with Star-Lord, our biggest obstacle is the body armor that he wears that makes him vastly more durable. Once we get past that, Star-Lord is effectively just an ordinary human, and him being half Spartoy does give him a longer natural life, but it doesn't appear to make him any harder to kill than a normal human being. So how do we get past Star-Lord's armor? Well, although to my knowledge it hasn't been expressly stated how Star-Lord's armor works, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that since Star-Lord spends most of his time in space, it's likely that his armor relies on some form of technology to function instead of just being a conventional suit of armor, especially given that it allows him to travel through space without suffocating. So in order to take it out, we have a couple of options. First, we can use a weapon that will emit a powerful electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, that should disrupt the electrical circuitry powering Star-Lord's suit. If the suit short circuits or shuts off, then killing Star-Lord is basically just a matter of killing a human being, which is only slightly more difficult than killing a raccoon when you think about it. Another option for shutting off the suit comes in the form of nanobots. We've seen nanobots used throughout the history of Marvel Comics, several of which were designed by some of the greatest minds of the Marvel Universe like Tony Stark or Hank Pym. And nanobots are simply just tiny robots that are able to enter the microscopic places and perform whatever task they've been programmed to do. And we've seen them do things like shut off the powers of superheroes in the past. So surely we could get our hands on some of them through some of the many nefarious arms dealers in the Marvel Universe and then use them to power down Star-Lord's suit and then just take him out by any conventional means. But with Rocket and Star-Lord out of the way, we can move on to Drax and Gamora. And I'm grouping them together here because for all intents and purposes, they serve the same role and basically have the same power sets. They're both skilled combatants, they both have super strength, they both have durability, they both have some degree of a healing factor, they both primarily fight with blades, and they're both green. What I'm getting at is that in battle, they are pretty much going to serve the same purpose. So how do we kill them? Well, honestly, even though they are more formidable opponents in battle than Rocket or Star-Lord, they can still be killed pretty much however we want. What makes them troublesome is that they have a pretty good chance of killing us before we can kill them. So before we step into battle against these two, we're going to have to up our durability so that we can withstand their attacks. So pretty simply, we have to protect ourselves through some sort of armor or shielding, then take these two out in basically any way we choose. Decapitation, a blast from a powerful energy blaster, or whatever. I mean, they do have healing factors, but they haven't been shown to be strong enough to recover from having their heads separated from their shoulders or being blown apart. So I think ultimately that would spell doom for them. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing these guys as weak or as if killing them is going to be easy. We're definitely going to be in for a fight, and we may even end up losing. We may try to engage them in combat and find things going sideways pretty quickly. But the point is that theoretically, for these two, we don't have to come up with any clever or ingenious ways to kill them. They can be killed. We just have to make sure that we don't die in the process. And so finally, that leaves us with Groot, ironically, the only member of the Guardians of the Galaxy to die in the movies. Now, Groot is going to present us with a pretty significant challenge, and it's for the very reason that we saw play out in the first Guardians movie. We can kill Groot fairly simply, perhaps with an explosion that reduces him to splinters, but we know what will happen. Any one of those splinters can eventually regrow into another Groot, become adorable in the process, and sell more merchandise than probably any of the other characters in the MCU so far. And we cannot allow that to happen, Rob Core. If we're gonna kill Groot, we're doing it for real and for good. I'm sorry, baby Groot, you're adorable, but you gotta go. No dancing baby Groots, no kid Groots threatening to press the blow up the world button. He has to stay dead. So that means that once he explodes, we have to be able to make sure that every single piece of him is destroyed. But how do we make sure that happens? Well, can we incinerate all of the pieces? Maybe. As we said, Groot is pretty resistant to fire due to the density of the wood matter that comprises him. But if we're dealing with small pieces of wood here, we may be able to do the job with fire. But the trick is that we're going to have to do this instantaneously, because it's possible that even one spore would be enough for Groot to regenerate. And so what we'll need is an explosive device that will be powerful enough to blow Groot apart and either incinerate or vaporize the pieces before any of the spores can escape the blast radius. And of course, as we know, the most reasonable way to do this is to detonate a nuclear bomb in Groot's immediate radius. If we do that, I think that we can end Groot once and for all. So that's basically what it takes. It takes a nuclear explosion to kill Groot and vaporize him in his entirety. But if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, be sure to hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Core. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like and leave a comment down below. Let me know what other characters you think that we should do next in our video series on how to kill superheroes. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.